Welcome and thanks for sticking around. We got game 2 of the MSI on the books here. Of course, I'm Dolson, and joining me on the desk, none other than the man Kresnik himself. Great to have you back. Good to have you here for the MSI. Of course, Space Station is playing, I guess, Tuesday is when you guys will start. So might have you around here for the next couple of days. But good to have you back. It's fun to watch. The sort of console versus PC is sort of been the talk of the town today. Any takeaways from game number 1?
About what I expected. I think not in terms of like the score, but I think just in terms of what console brought out and that they really can bring a fight. I mean, I think most players in NA were expecting Elevate to put up a fight, and I think
they did.
Looking at this matchup coming up, I think people would expect Flashpoint to be the team to do, the other team to do the same.
Right. I mean, it's Flashpoint Sanguine for matchup number 2. Flashpoint, actually very similar storyline to what Elevate brought. They won every single game, 12-0 throughout the split, only dropped 2 maps. Gore and I like to poke a little fun. There was to Stush down there. Complete opposites. Stush took a couple maps off of them, but still a force to be reckoned with, of course. I mean, a team that a lot of people would group up with Elevate kind of in that same regard, and a team that people will say have maybe a good shot at upseeding one of these minor league teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking at like the predictions and stuff that like Blue did on Twitter from the console corner. I think Flashpoint was one of the most predicted for, I believe, coming into this. I think they have the second most players using M&K and keyboards.
That's
true.
They
have like 3, I believe.
Right.
I could be wrong. It's all hearsay, honestly. You know.
We'll find out. I'm sure we'll find out one way or another. But it's going to be exciting to look at. Of course, you have to look at the guy on Flashpoint. All eyes are on him. Prosper Logic throughout the console league split. He's been a force to be reckoned with for sure, tearing down teams left and right. And he's back here at LAN looking to do more of the same. It's been interesting in that last set, we only really saw the true, I say, quote, console lineup in that they drafted Victor and Vivian, and it worked out pretty well for them. Do you think that's something maybe console can identify in Prosper, that he's so good on like a Victor, so good on a Vivian? Maybe not ban it away, but have play styles drafted around it?
Oh, you mean like for the console to play with Prosper Logic?
Like, do you think that PC has strategies surrounding playing against somebody like Prosper Logic on a Victor, seeing as he's so good on that champion?
I mean, I would say so. I mean, especially looking at the meta right now on PC, right? We know Victor's kind of coming back in. Vivian, Tyra have been something that other teams and my own team personally have brought back into the mix. Teams are definitely more ready, I think, to play against that kind of strategy.
Right.
I don't know if they'd prepare in particular because, I mean, I'm not sure about the ego level, honestly, of PC teams going into this, but they definitely would have strategies against the automatics, considering their shift back into the meta.
Well, it's a guy you have to consider, whether you fully draft against him or you just identify him as somebody to look out for. Prosper Logic, top to bottom, is a guy who really looked to move this Flashpoint team forward. I mean, they're a storied team. They have a lot of past success in LANs in the console league, and again, they're going to look to make waves here today. And then, of course, the entire roster. I mean, they're playing like a complete team. I mean, as we watched their games throughout the console league, none of them were really all that close. Every once in a while, Stush would take a map, but if you look at Elevate, they didn't lose a single map in the console league. Flashpoint have only lost 2, so maybe a similar matchup. Maybe without diving too far in, do you think Sanguine is a better matchup for Flashpoint than Sour Team was for Elevate?
That's really hard to say.
That's a hard question,
Elevate,
but
I mean,
they're different.
Yeah, Elevate had a sub too.
True.
And that way
You're
they
right.
performed that well with a sub. So thinking Flashpoint's on the same level, I mean, it could be a hard matchup for Sanguine specifically.
Right.
Sanguine as a team, they had a big roster shift in the middle of the season, and they performed pretty well. Right after it. But then I believe they just got devastated by Hive Unit, I think, in their last matchup, right?
Yeah, and they're a team that's, I mean, kind of had some ups and downs, as you said, throughout the split. Edgem, of course, on the Sanguine lineup. He's kind of the counter, in my eyes, to Prosper Logic. If Prosper's going to be able to kind of free farm the damage in the backline, you're going to need Edgem to come up big and make these big plays. Do you sort of see it in a similar way?
I mean, Edgem is someone who has been proven at LAN before. His one last previous LAN with big egos, eliminating my team and I think having a pretty solid performance against PPL teams. He's definitely a player to look for on this roster. He's pretty flexible across a lot of different characters, and he can definitely make a lot of use of the space that his tanks and Neo make for him.
You know, it's interesting, sort of removing from this particular matchup to just the console versus PC matchup in general. Eevee was sort of the big topic of conversation because that champion's so powerful on PC, just the flick ability, and not as powerful, to be honest, on the side of console. I think, I'm trying to remember in our last matchup, Eevee was definitely banned out a few times, but in general, we didn't see any of that high-level, like, super mobile flank coming through on the side of PC. Do you think that that console has just found a good way to answer back some of what the PC meta might be bringing?
I mean, console banned Eevee on
That's
the maps
true,
where they thought it was going
right.
to be a problem. They didn't ban her on maps like Ice Mines where it
Right.
wasn't going to be too good, but I mean Flashpoint against a player like Neo who can be flexible across, Bomb King, Drogo's, Eevee. I think he's definitely someone they should be worried about on that character.
I agree. I think very much so what you just said, and we saw this throughout the minor league against some of the best teams in the minor league. Neo, top to bottom, whether it's Bomb King, whether it's Pip, any of these blaster players, he'll make his presence known. The King Bombs are always on point. The damage is always on point. And absolutely, I agree. That's something Flashpoint need to identify. How are you going to deal with Neo? You have Edgem, you have Neo. That's a 1-2 punch to be reckoned.
I was actually specifically going to bring up this game when you mentioned those characters. I was going to say his Exaction Cassie. This was his first game back after a break.
Yeah.
He was out of the scene for a little while, and then Zenith needed a player, picked him up, and he just showed up on Exaction Cassie after not playing the game at all. And I'm pretty sure, I hope they show the end of this clip, because I'm pretty sure he just taunts in their spawn after wiping their team with a Torv bubble.
Doesn't surprise
I think it's right here. No, it's fine. He taunts. I promise you he taunts.
I believe it. I mean, he's a guy, I always found it funny. I don't know if it's like game or Twitch or whatever it is, but he's always spraying in the middle of these team fights, whether it's just to be ready for a replay or
and I was on his
whatever it may
team.
be.
It's burned into my skull,
He's
the
used
spray
to it.
noise.
Well, we talked a little bit about Edgem, and we do have an interview with him standing by. Nick is on the mic. Let's hear what he has to say.
All right, guys, thanks so much down here in the Sanguine booth with Mr. Edgem. Now, after watching that first set, I don't know how much death ball we're really expecting. What are your thoughts on the console play after that first game?
Well, Elevate's mostly on console, as opposed to Flashpoint that are mostly on PC. So I assumed that they were going to do stuff like that, and obviously told me their strat. Outside of me being friends with him, I would have never expected some death ball 5-on-point comps like that. But I'm glad that SAO were able to adapt and get the win in the end.
I mean, that was really the full commitment to that style of play. They left nothing left to be desired with a death ball strat. With a team like Flashpoint, who is playing a little bit more, not fully on mouse and keyboard, but a little bit more in that direction. But what are the major differences? Do you expect we'll see any Eevee or more blaster play from them?
Yeah, I definitely think the champions that are more dominant on PC will be showing up a lot more in this set because they are mostly on mouse and keyboard, as we just said. And then we'll probably see less likely anyways to see the 5-point strats or whatever else, like Sky first picks and stuff like that.
I mean, just from the outside looking in, yes, those pushed it to 3-3, but arguably the closest Elevate got in that set against our team was when they really kind of, made it more standard, had that double backline DPS. That's what I'm predicting a little bit more from these console teams as we see the rest of the day. Is this what you would expect? Did you have a lot of time to sort of scrim and prepare against console teams to really get a feel for them?
The only really time we ever scrimmed Flashpoint was a while ago, which I'm not sure if they were on mouse and keyboard at the time, but the scrims went pretty well for us. But obviously scrims are scrims. Anything can happen on tournament day. People get nervous, everything can switch up. So I'm just keeping my eyes peeled for what's to come.
Last question, you nervous at all today?
No, of course not.
I don't get that impression, guys. Thank you so much for talking with us, Mr. Edgem. We're going to get back up to the desk and keep this set moving.
Thank you, guys. Edgem feeling confident, as they should be. They're one of the best minor league teams that we have, so they'll come in today feeling pretty good. And one thing that we had kind of talked offhand about, and they actually mentioned in the interview, is sort of the transition. They are playing against a console team, but a lot of the guys, given that Flashpoint's success at MSI or position at MSI was pretty much locked into place throughout the first, half of the PCO. They were pretty certainly going, so they could start to maybe branch out, go to mouse and keyboard a little bit. Do you think that changes the dynamic of this set playing against a mouse and keyboard console team rather than them on the thumbsticks?
I think the teams will respect some of the PC picks a little more because I know that these teams kind of didn't even pick Cassie a lot in the season. Koa kind of went a little further down. I think they'll respect the PC picks more, be more willing to play around it, maybe even ban it in some cases. And they've been able to scrim again on mouse and keyboard for a pretty long time. Pretty much as soon as their spot is locked in, they could do it. And I believe Flashpoint was the second most dominant region, right? Only 2 maps dropped.
Yeah, right. Only two maps dropped, and that's kind of what we see going down the list today. No maps dropped for Elevate game number 1. 2 maps dropped for Flashpoint. I think 4 maps dropped in our next matchup as well. Stone Keep, map number 1. We saw Ice Mines as the first map in our last game, and that lended itself, I think, to what Elevate were trying to do. That was a good map that I think catered pretty well to the Death Ball-y composition that they have going there. And this is this is where things could change. You look at the desk there, a couple mouse and keyboards, a couple controllers. Sanguine and Edgem said it very well. They're definitely not overlooking anybody on the opposite side. And you saw how much of a fight Elevate could put up. Sanguine are expecting Flashpoint to do the same, and I think Flashpoint could sneak up here. If they get some good drafts, if they start to roll the way they can, they could take a few maps, maybe even the game over Sanguine.
Oh yeah, I think so, absolutely. I mean, these console players have been in this scene forever. They're experienced.
Absolutely.
It's not like LAN nerves are going to affect them too much. And I think so far, I think they've done their research with the start of this. The BK ban, it's kind of like, I mean, it was almost kind of a joke when I was on Neo's team, but like it really is kind of just like the people who play against Neo ban Bomb King.
Right.
It's been like that since almost the end of 2017. Like, I'm not even, that's actually been that long of a stretch. So clearly they've done their research into Sanguine. So that makes me think they haven't written themselves off, you know? They want to flip this game.
I absolutely agree. And it's a good ban to have up against Neo as well. Sanguine going right into Ash Cassie. Cassie played a big part in the Sour team win. In our last set of the day, I imagine more of the same here in this Sanguine set. Edgem very deadly, but we also saw that Neo can play the Cassie as well. I mean, you can't be certain. Both of those players so flexible that just because you see a Cassie doesn't mean it's going to be Edgem, doesn't mean it's going to be Neo. They have the ability to flex on any of those champions. Flashpoint answering back with Conbarrack Genos. Good start. Pretty standard, though.
This is a PC draft,
It's a PC draft, yeah.
Yeah, and Cassie, great pick, I think, early for Sanguine because it can go to either of them. You know, like, this doesn't lock them into anything in the draft, and they're leaving DPS open at the end. Kind of a hybrid, sustainy, aggressive comp. Ash with the lifesteal keeps herself alive for a long time. Inara Damba, a classic combination. Speed boost lets the Inara get aggressive, and keeps her alive with the damage reduction with the Mother's Grace. Really solid draft from Sanguine, but Flashpoint, if they get a pretty mobile draft, they could kind of play the surround game on Stone Keep. If they, you know, they're just going to give up Keep, I think, at this point. They're going to give up the castle side. Maybe try to go double backline, win both sides through the church. They have a lot of options open, I think, right now.
Still have Victor Vivian. That's what we saw work out so well. I mean, they didn't get the win, but Elevate played Victor Vivian wonderful, having a great performance in that last map. This is a map, Stone Keep as well, where that could do pretty well.
This is a phenomenal map for Victor.
Yeah,
it really
absolutely. We've seen him and we saw him in the PPL a few times over the past few weeks. But Talus, you never get to play Talus in the console league. They're always banning him out. Talus Leon. If you didn't see the team names at the top, you'd think this was a console draft.
I mean,
maybe minus Talus.
The start, it looked very it looked very different. You know, like it looked like a PC draft from the start. The Talus is something that we actually didn't see last set at all.
No.
Kind of surprising considering his ban rate in the PCL. I don't know the exact numbers.
It's high.
I will tell you high. At least in the week I was there, it was really high. Leon picked up maybe to counter a flanker from Sanguine, but Sanguine decides to go for the backline pip instead. I would expect this to be Catalyst, unlike the Mega ran by Elevate before, but I think this is actually a good draft from both sides. I want to see how the Talus pulls off, because the Talus into Pip isn't bad. Pip's head is huge.
Right.
That's free headshot, especially if you're on a controller, you know?
That's right. Do you think the Leon comes into play? I mean, that she's been tweaked and moved out of the meta, still kind of niche. If you really love Leon, you can still play her and still do very well. How do you think she'll fare in this matchup?
I think this is one of her best maps. I'm not concerned about the viability of the Leon in this matchup.
Right.
I think both teams have a solid draft. I really just want to see how this Talus pick pans out.
Not too much cheesiness to start off this one. We had a lot in our last set, but pretty standard drafts coming out here. We'll have to see how it plays out, but first we'll have to go down to the casters.
Thank you guys so much. Was that a height joke? Go down to the cat at this point.
It's because, I mean, him and Nick just tower over everybody.
Now that I'm back, he thinks he can pick on both of us. Yeah, I get it. We're standing on boxes, but that doesn't mean that we're not able to see through to the strength that is Sanguine. That is Flashpoint. That is Rain and Gormizer on the mic here for you. Gore, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. That was a little faster than I expected set one to go.
Ooh, yeah.
But this one, I mean, it's just one of those things. You're playing with the sub. It's kind of expected when you get to LAN if you have a sub that you're not going to be able to hold up. I'm interested to see where Flashpoint stand now. They have full power.
They do. Full power, true power. You could say they've got a lot of inner strength as well to be able to go through and dominate this game. They're going to have to come back to us for a second as we get a few things ready for this game to really launch. Players want to make sure everything is just right as well. As we take you back to the party, boys, this is really where the action is anyways. Me and Gore always have something interesting going on. I like the tie, by the way.
Thank you. Came with a pocket square. I had to make the difficult decision of vest or jacket today.
And are you in the position of wearing an actual pocket watch, or is that just style?
It is an actual pocket
Take
watch.
Notes, Nick Keogh. actually, I joked with Pretty Hair so much around this exact thing that he actually ended up getting a pocket watch. That's a beautiful. Wow, he's got. Wow. All right. Well,
nailed it.
Too much fun.
Style on point, baby. Let's go.
Stall and style on point. Look at that. The double S's, double trouble. As we get ready in, the sound starts flooding for the game. We're going to bring you the second set of the MSI. Flashpoint versus Sanguine here. And already Baller Steve helping out Edgem as they take high control of the Stone Keep.
I mean, doing whatever they can. I'm very much interested, just like the desk was, in how this Talus performs. Prosper has been known for his Talus, although I think Skeppy, in my mind, typically stands out as the Talus over him, but either one can pick it up. Either one can play it well. Same thing goes for the Leon on this team. It's two incredibly talented hit scan players that this was a change they made. They picked up Skeppy specifically for this LAN. It's something they've wanted pretty much since, what, week 3, week 4, week 5? It was very early on in the league. He's going to have to show up a little more than that.
And big kill as well. Plus big control. They've had high ground so often. It's been very tough. And Flame Effects down in there. The man who was a coach helping out with G2 so much over some of the previous splits. Now finding real star-studded potential in the PML, supporting Sanguine in this run they've had. And it has been quite a good run as well. 54%. He's going to back off. Get a little bit of healing from Baller Steve. And Prosper just trying to hide out. But Edgem keeps him under fire.
I mean, they played it the exact way Sanguine. They're known to play it. They just played it patient. They took control of the high ground, as you had mentioned, and then just slowly enveloped the rest of the point and the rest of the fight to the point where they didn't get a crazy amount of kills. One here, one there, and then, well, one to end it, but they just took back control. They just engrossed the point.
And when you have high ground, you could drop down, no problem. That's called gravity helping you out. If you have low ground, unless you're Michael Jordan, you can't jump up there and be able to reach that threat. And so they have the ability to pull out of these fights or go into them given the space or the opportunity that arises, and that's what Sanguine have done so well. Ultimate's on the rise as well. 2 minutes to be pushed. Prosper still trying to get things going. He does have the ultimate, though, and that will allow him to get into the back line through time and space. Not quite on the mark for Storm, so they'll use that resource to try to delay, but it's not much.
Just trying to hold on. World Ed is probably in that's like the most awkward position as a barrack to be in. You're using all your cooldowns to just stay alive. You're kind of locked in the corner. There's going to be an evil mojo that gets popped. No crazy kills coming through. Neo actually ends up trading out his life, and there goes Flame. So you have a little bit of fight back here from Flashpoint.
And he looked like he was trying to think about, can I get back from that angle? Doesn't want to risk it as well. He does have the Assert Dominance primed and ready, as well as 4 ultimates. 3 ultimates on the side of Flashpoint here. Edgem getting very, very low. Skeppy and Legacy doing their best to just stall this out. So although Sanguine have started out strong, they've finally been stopped, a minute off the clock, and now they have the ability to try to hold here, high ground here for Skeppy. He's been such an important storyline for them. You mentioned coming in for LAN. He's got so much LAN experience in himself, you could see why they want him on the team.
I mean, it's someone, again, not only a talented hit scan player, but he's been to, what, every single LAN that has come through? So. He's won quite a few of them as well, so he's been able to do a lot in the console scene. And this is that moment. This is the biggest thing for Flashpoint, the same thing that was huge for Elevate. How much can you prove?
Interesting decision there. Skeppy is staying alive, though. He's got the Astral Mark on him as well, and damage continuing to flow, but Flame Effects has been on him non-stop. He has not let go, and he has applied enough pressure to allow 1, 2, and now 3 kills on the side of Sanguine. Flashpoint lose a 4th, and it is just the Genos running away. He will ascend up to his base, and he's going to stay there if Flame Effects has anything to say about it.
Well, there's a Dread Serpent ready and waiting if it needs it, but you don't really need it when you have Ash playing bodyguard. She's just knocking anyone who comes out either back into base or, if she could, probably off the map there, as they were just waiting. And the biggest thing that kind of is now coming to my attention, I didn't think of it until that last point fight when I saw Skeppy go down, but it was just Leon.
Yeah.
Someone who, for the last, 3-ish weeks, essentially, she got a small nerf, a little bit of a change so that she doesn't get instant resets on her abilities. And she kind of disappeared from the meta for a little bit. A couple of teams picked her up during the last week of the PPL.
Yeah.
Specifically, like Hecate being able to showcase that she does still work.
Right.
But the question is Skeppy playing at that level, right?
High level.
As much as it is to say, there's still a jump. Whether or not you're one of the best players on console, Hecate is one of the best hit scan players we've ever seen, period.
Yeah.
So when it's come through, how well can you make it work? Right now, I think that's going to be the thing that stands out the most, is whether or not he can close this out.
And I want to look at how Skeppy's been actually doing. 2 and 2, so not as bad as I thought it might have been. Prosper picks up a big kill on the Neo right at the start, and that's going to be huge. for Flashpoint. What can they do off of it? Edgem still holding down left corridor here. Skeppy super low. One blast shot will secure that kill. And Flame Effects, he's just going to dunk down. He finds Legacy, and he has no battle shot available. Prosper tries to go for it, but the true power's too late. Edgem with a double kill, and that's going to be Sanguine closing things out here in the first part of this point fight. There will be another chance, though, if Flashpoint can use their ultimates to get back.
That was incredibly just calm,
Oh
cool,
my
collected.
God.
Everything you needed from this Cassie came through. Every single shot connected, everything coming through. Right now, you don't even need to hit them all. He's just looking for dismounts, he's looking for control, he's looking for poke. And you can see it. That Khan has been out of combat, has not been fighting for a while. He's just now getting the heals he's going to need, and he's met with an evil mojo.
Oh no, Doctor, that is not looking like a good prognosis for the patient. Turned into a chicken and immediately fried up. That is not going to be a recipe for survival. Sanguine, they're going to make sure Flashpoint don't even get a chance to touch and contest. It's 3-0. Starting off very strong, our minor league opposition here. But Flashpoint, they're not out of it yet. Here's the overpower. Edgem, he should be going off. No way to get back on from that. And they will stall out for now, but it doesn't seem to be working on these point fight score. What has to change?
Honestly, I think it's just the approach. It feels like Sanguine are going very much for the high ground. They even got rid of Pip early on the side of Flashpoint, but there was no pressure on the objective, and that's kind of where they're lacking. I mean, Barrick should almost beeline for it, but the problem is you got Baller Steve playing Maldonado, probably one of his best champions, versus the Genos, that's just not going to match the healing. That's going to be, I think, the biggest difference, the biggest gap between the teams.
Wow, so strong as well. Legacy kind of getting exposed here against Flame, who is such a experienced and veteran player. Legacy, the same, but you have to admit that there's just been a different level that they've both been working at here.
Yeah.
And Khan, although having a very strong matchup against the Ashe, just not really having any success whatsoever. World Edit in trouble. The Barrack, he has a dome shield, but can't even get down. There it is. Enlightenment used, but Niu's going to find Skeppy here. Prosper Logic fighting desperately under the dome, but the dome will collapse as Sanguine take victory number 1 here in game number 1 against Flashpoint. That was efficient.
Yeah, that's actually the only word I can think. Like any scramble, but really just any synonym for efficient. Anything that means the same thing. They got it done about as fast as you could and about as, again, calm and collected as you could. It felt like they, very much like their interview, didn't feel any pressure at all from Flashpoint, which is kind of a bad sign for Flashpoint fans.
So do you think it was the Talus? Did they put too much in? I mean, the Leon a little on the bubble because that's skill-based. So we'll leave that to, it can work, it might not. But the Talus is like not a guaranteed pick in this meta. It's not a pick used in PC. How did you feel about it?
It's actually really weird where I don't know if Talus did poorly. Like, I don't think he did bad. I don't really think he did anything. It's just one of those things that was just too controlled from the other side. Like, Edgem hardly missed a shot. The only shots that I saw him actively missing were when he's like, okay, someone might peek here and I'm going for a dismount. The only time I saw Ashe or anybody on the side of Sanguine feel uncomfortable was with a little bit of pressure, maybe from Leon, but it kind of felt like Talus was a non-factor, which is the opposite of what you want. You need him to go big.
Edgem went big. Flame Effects really dominated that off-tank battle between him and Legacy, and it ended up going the way of Sanguine pretty efficiently. Let's send it back to the desk, see what Dolson and Kresnik have to say.
Thank you, Evan. Back here at the desk, the muscles of Sanguine, game number 1, just a little bit too much for Flashpoint on the opposite side. 4-0, this is how we saw our last set start off, though, or 4-1, rather, in set number 1. An answer back in games 2 and 3, though, from console. I mean, I'll just open it up. What are some takeaways you saw in game number 1 here?
I mean, they were definitely right about it. I don't think the Talus did too much. It had some, like, mid-range control, but really just the sustain of the composition coming from Sanguine, I think, was too much for them to deal with. Like, there's really 2 distinct ways to play this map. So you can play around the church side and poke at range, or you can play the, the sustain high ground, contest the point maybe with your support peeking from the stairs. And they just, the sustain comp just won it out. The Ashe pressure was a lot for them to deal with. Since they were playing in church, the Talus really couldn't do as much as he wanted to. It was just, I think, a draft played perfectly by Sanguine.
Do you think that's just purely a draft matchup that went the way of Sanguine? I mean, Neo obviously had a very good game. Do you think a misplay at all from Flashpoint? Could they have played their composition differently, or did they just draft and play what they drafted to the best, and the better draft in this case came out on top?
I don't think they set up enough combos, maybe, and I think it's really hard for them to repush into the pressure from Neo's Pip. Like on the retouch at one point on the second point fight, he was just sitting in church with Evil Mojo. There's really not much he can do. There's really not much he can do to get into that, Khan touched.
Right.
I said in the break room,
the chicken
they can't touch,
right.
and then he touches a chicken. And I was like, well, he touched.
It counts. Overtime has started.
Overtime started, but there is a 5-piece dinner being delivered straight to every member of Sanguine when that happens.
Yeah, and they ate 4-0 game number 1 for Sanguine. Splitstone Quarry is where we're going to head for map number 2 here. Does this bring about any other interesting play styles? Because it was really Ice Mines and then Serpent Beach where we saw Elevate go into that 5-man stack on the point composition. 1, do you maybe expect any of that in the set in general? And 2, does maybe Splitstone lend itself to something like that?
Stonekeep actually plays very similar. Splitstone, plays similar to Stonekeep in the sense of you can play like a sustainy composition near the point where you kind of huddle inside one small area. The quarry on this map, the church in the church on Keep, or you can play more of the flank, play on the high grounds, play to surround and poke the point from multiple sides. If they go draft the same way, I think Sanguine could take this map as well, especially since I believe this is their pick.
I think
so clearly they're confident.
Either way, you're right. And that the interview with Edgem made that very clear that we're not taking anyone for granted, but we know we're a very good team.
I mean, a member of a team previously called Big Egos, I think you would assume
a little of that carried over.
Come in confident. Yeah,
that's right. They should be. They should be. And map number 1 just solidifies some of that. Now it's on to Flashpoint to find a little bit of an answer back. And it's good that you point out on Splitstone, Corey, because there are so many different ways that you can sort of play it. We see teams draft just kind of a 5-strong. I mean, the buzzword today has been death ball, but a composition that just hangs out underneath the bleachers. You try to win the fight there and then take the point. You can get long-range damage dealer, stick them up high, poke away, as you said. So there's lots of different ways to go about this. The pip that we saw last time is not something – I guess we don't really see that on Stonekeep all that often.
It's
a very strong pip, though. Or very strong pick, excuse me. Maybe more pip here on Splitstone, Corey?
Maybe. If you're playing the outside, the focus of your composition is kind of to spam the point and keep the pressure on that. You want to just lock down the point so they can't play that sustain inside the quarry kind of composition.
Right.
So pip is fantastic for that, of course. I mean, you have the evil mojo to burn the point touch. You have the catalyst spam around the corners. He can go from the top to the bleachers and back. One of the few characters with vertical mobility that also has that level of pressure. Plenty of characters can make it there, but not quite as many can make it back.
Well, it's viable. Whether or not they pick them, that's up in the air. And we talked about these are coming to me as we go, and I love it. We talked about the flexibility of Neo going into this matchup. You don't know whether Edgem or Neo is going to be playing the Cassie. You ban out the Bomb King. You give him the Pip instead. And again, he's just such a flexible guy that no matter what, he's going to make his impact felt. That's not a ban I expected to see today. Why might you ban out a Terminus?
You're going to put me on the spot like this about a Terminus?
No. Yeah, that's right. A guy who loves Terminus as much as
Terminus,
you do.
But on this map, I guess it's fantastic for pushing Quarry if you decide to go the Quarry versus Quarry fight. Like if you're saying, well, if we lose Quarry, we lose, and they have a strat with Terminus, maybe that would be the main reason to do that. Otherwise, I think other bans would be more value, but that's the only reason I could think of to ban it that early.
Elevate played Terminus, if I remember remembering correctly, just a few games ago at the start of the day. Neither here nor there. I mean, it played into their composition. I would say wasn't the reason they lost, but didn't necessarily help them win out in that one.
They kind of ran him in Makoa position to block their team, but since the Siphon nerf, it really can't get away with that anymore.
Right.
Like when they had the half shell spam on map 2. It was significantly closer. They had Terminus replacing it, just wasn't enough.
Well, with the bans being the way they are, Terminus takes the seat of Atlas in the ban column. That means Atlas is here to play on the side of Sanguine.
And also on the ban column for Flashpoint.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. You're right. He is now in 2 places, but he is a man out of time.
He is a lord of time.
He is a man out of time.
If any champion would be in both, it would be Atlas.
That should be his passive. It's going to be Khan instead. Similar play styles, different kits. Answering back with the Barrack. Flashpoint showed us in game number 1 that they're just going to draft something normal. We're going to pick double tank, healer, double damage dealer, and see how it plays out. It didn't work out for them last time. They are going to get the victor this time around, and especially when it's in the hands of Prosper Logic, you have to be careful.
That wasn't very
This makes me think they might want to play more of the outside point-focused spam comp. Sanguine also might be going for that too with the Genos pick. It can really go either way, but with the Victor, you want him on high ground. Barrack, a little better for poking when he's not on the point. Flashpoint taking the Damba, someone that isn't seen as much in the PCL. I mean, some supports prefer him, but it's not as often. In our Barrack, both point tanks taken, tried to deny maybe a sustained composition from Sanguine if they so choose to flex to that.
They'll have an Ashe sort of as that next tier, maybe if that's the direction they want to go with it. Bomb King for Neo. They don't ban it this time. He's going to get it. He's strong on this map, especially if you're fighting over on that bleacher side. The small corridors, like so potent for Bomb King. They go for Fernando over the Ash, maybe answering back with a little bit of the point tech that they still have. And they're going to get an Eevee on the side of Flashpoint here. So they get Victor. Standard sort of 1 through 4. Prosper Logic you're going to assume is on the Victor. And then Eevee coming out for number 5.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. We got a lot to look at here in this game. Splitstone Quarry game number 2. Evan, Gore, take it away.
Wow, wow, wow. We've got ourselves an Eevee here on the side of Flashpoint. So the question of whether Eevee would be impactful, already answered. We knew that. But whether it would be impactful for a console team, now we get to answer. This is one of the biggest challenges on controller, but I believe because Flashpoint has so many of their members not on controller and on mouse and keyboard, they're up for the challenge, and that's going to go to Skeppy. Wow, Gore, how do you feel about this pickup?
This would normally be the point where I could talk about how Skeppy's played a champion so many times. I could break down how it's looked in the past. I've never seen Skeppy play Eevee. I don't think at any point in time, at least competitively, he has ever played Eevee, and if he did, he must have been winning really, really hard. But it's one of those games where you can't use a stat like that for its effect. So this is a true proving ground for Flashpoint. Not only are they the first team to pick an Eevee, but it's a console team showcasing it.
Totally.
And I need to see how Skeppy's going to perform to see if it's worthwhile for him.
A lot of moments where you could play with the Eevee here, but most of the fight has to do with a lot of these mid-range shots. He's hitting the close range decently well, misses that flick shot, could have cleaned up Edgem. Niu already taking the high ground. This is tough. Now he's cornered, and he's got the ability to be approached from both sides. So he's going to back off. Luckily gets into a bit of safety, but without the healer, it's going to be tough to stay alive for too long. Niu finally cleans up Skeppy, and that's a full wipe essentially on the side of Flashpoint. So Sanguine now in full control.
I'd even argue at this point here, actually, it's like trying to play Eevee against Fasheko, right? Like you're playing Eevee against Neo, and Neo runs this Eevee so often that it's just like, cool.
Yeah.
I know how Eevee works on this map. Good luck trying to get the best of me. Like, I'm going to play where you don't want me to be playing because I know how this matchup works. I know where I need to be. I know how it feels when I'm in your position. So I'm going to make you feel it this time around. And so he just gets super aggressive with the Bomb King, and it pays off dividends.
And so much about it is the angles in which he's playing. But right now, Barrage getting activated by Prosper Logic. He's the one who gets exploded, though, thanks to the bombs from Niju, who's finding yet another moment of success on this squad. He's on a 5 streak. Skeppy cleaning up Baller Steve. That's going to open up the door for a little bit of pressure, but Niju's going to throw one onto the ground, cleaning up the Winter Witch and keep it moving. Edgem now has such a buffet of easy opponents to take down, but a little bit of pressure on the backside from Prosper forces him away.
A couple of good shots. I think that's the strongest thing. This Victor is something that Flashpoint play almost constantly. Whenever they get it, it's like to the point where Prosper would pick other champions because he was worried people would think he was a one-trick with the Victor. Because they got it so often. It always performed so well. And admittedly, it was his best performing champion because of it. But him being able to pull that out, I think he's going to be probably one of the big play conditions to make up for whether or not this Eevee hits. If Skeppy doesn't go big in a round, Victor, this Prosper Logic, has to.
It's interesting to see how they're also working their drafts and the champion decisions here. Skeppy has found Edgem, which is huge, but he's relying so much on Storm Avatar on the Maldamba to really help him out. And Storm traditionally actually does pretty well on Damba for the console league, and you have to say that he's one of the champions that is avoided very much in console due to the inability to be used at its highest efficiency like Eevee on the controller. But he's always had it in the back pocket. They're going to have a ton of synergy here. Again, picking off Baller Steve. Target prioritization seems to be right on point for Skeppy.
I like where he's going for because, again, I think Baller Steve enables this team. Bomb King with a Luminary, Cassie with a Luminary. It's just a lot of damage. It's almost an unwielding amount of damage, and it makes it a lot more difficult for anyone on your team to be able to stand forward. But it's those kills, those moments where when you blink back, can you get that last shot off? Can you get that kill before you go back? Because that's going to be the difference between making this Eevee okay and making this Eevee work and showcase that it's going to be a strong pick for you.
That's where Storm needs to really help him out. And these are the shots that really need to hit. We talk about the high level of Eevee, and there's the scout comes out. Oh, big aggression there. Edgem can't quite finish him off. This is where Storm needs to kind of alleviate some of that, and he will get some help. But now World Edit is in trouble. We talk about hitting these mid-range shots, yet those have been few and far between. And Niju now finding a great angle on the World Edit, waiting for the Mother's Grace. The Earthen Guard actually will not fall off as soon as he thinks. World Edit will go down anyways, and now it's overtime.
I mean, a couple of good shots here from Edgem could just seal the deal for them. They're going to be able to get rid of the healer. They got rid of World Edit.
Oh, no.
And there goes Prosper.
There it is. I think that's 2-0 Gore. It's going to be an easy push.
Ooh.
And a nice shot in the air as well. Sanguine off to another roaring start thanks to that man and company. Niju comfortable on the Bomb King. And he's pretty much comfortable on everything.
I was going to say comfortable on land as well. Like, that's the other thing about Sanguine in this kind of position. Like, yes, Flashpoint, again, a team that's been to a lot of lands, won the Summer Console Wars just a year ago. But the thing is every single member, specifically Neo, but like a lot of members from Sanguine have been to LAN, have played on LAN. Neo went to, I think, every single international LAN last year, playing on different teams throughout. And so being able to pick up that amount of experience and perform well throughout all of them as well, like that was very big for them. Him playing Bomb King on LAN, like this is his environment. Like this is the best case scenario for a Blaster player.
Yeah, it's his bread and butter for sure. Blasters are so common for him and their success. A little bit of an early through time and space that doesn't connect from Sanguine. And so they really did use one of those resources, try to take a guess. It's not one that they can go too worried about not having. So they will be okay. Beautiful Poppy Bomb up to the top ropes. He's just going to try to skirt away. He expects the damage, forces the slither, and that's a guaranteed kill on a Storm.
And just the predictive movement. Like, recognizing I can roll at you and you can shoot me, I'm going to drop down because you're going to try to run away from me. And then I'm going to keep rolling on you. Like, you're not getting out of this one. I'm chasing you down. Another double kill picked up there for the Bomb King. Flashpoint, comeback mechanic. 93%, but they couldn't seal the deal.
And the most impressive thing was just the picture-perfect Bomb King Poppy Bomb there. Just getting him up to the top, allowing him to have that ease of access and also play from the high ground to the low ground, knowing that he would force Storm Avatar into the slither at some point. It was just a mind game that ended up working out really well for Niju. 90% now for Sanguine. Somebody's got to touch on the side of Flashpoint, but they've lost Skeppy. Barrage, it's going to find one, but Baller Steve picks up Legacy. It's just Prosper watching the point go the way of Sanguine, and yet again, we are 3-0 for the minor league representative.
And this is just one of those moments. I don't think this means as much for Flashpoint as it just means how good Sanguine look. Like, this is a team that is collected and very, very, again, very much like I said for Sour Team, but I think even more so, they don't seem to have a care in the world right now. They just are playing Paladins at its essence. Like, that's, they're zoned in, chilling like they're at home, just another script.
And that's the big thing that you have to bring to LAN, where you can't completely change everything about you. And there are a lot of benefits that you can get, a lot of boons you can get from LAN. But, you know, if you change your style, your gameplay, your essence of who you are as a team, you're going to lose the reason why you got there in the first place. And so that's what Sanguine are doing a marvelous job of holding on to. And honestly, what they're doing is they're overshadowing Flashpoint a little bit here. Flashpoint haven't been able to get anything going. We're not seeing the traditional personality and characteristics of these star players in the PCL really come to light here against the North Americans.
And I mean, it's just good shots the entire time. Like, it's who decides to step up. Is it going to be Edgem? Is it going to be Neo? Like, is the Bomb King going to be the one finding the kills? Is it the Cassie that's going to be finding the kills? I mean, even Baller Steve's been putting his name on that list. Like, any single member of Sanguine at this point has showcased that they can change the pace of the game in just a couple of good shots. So far, Flashpoint hasn't been able to have that impact.
You know where he wants to go. He's looking for healer, he's looking for Prosper, and he's going to find both, but he hits the slither. That means that he's going to get back out into safety, and they still have ultimates to use. Sanguine have the through time and space. They also have the overpower. The Dread Serpent will come out from Flashpoint to try to buy time, and it will at least fear the Bomb King.
All of that time, though, is just going to be bought and finding kills elsewhere and then turning it into where they need it. A nice through time and space, just going to corral people away.
Wow.
But that's all they needed.
And that's all
Time,
they
space.
got. Time, space. Those are things everyone in this world is fighting for. They got it pretty simply there. Sanguine showing their muscles earlier on and absolutely flexing them here in the game. Prosper and the rest of Flashpoint, mouth agape. A little shocked, a little stunned, not quite sure what to do here. It's got to be demoralizing as well. A lot of these guys known for just dominating every single game that they play, and it's a completely different experience to jump into just a new environment against a team you haven't played that's doing well.
I mean, these are teams that are at the same level as you. Yeah, they lost a couple more sets overall throughout their split, but I think, honestly, they took those and grew with them, because every top 2 teams from these minor league teams have been contending with even PPL.
It's interesting, man. We'll have to wait and see. Game 2 goes away of Sanguine just as convincingly. Send it back to the desk and get their thoughts.
Sanguine continue their tear. 4-0, 4-0, 8 straight point wins for them, 2 straight map wins. we're in best of 5. One more win, that puts them on through to the next round. So this is do or die for Flashpoint. They got to win 3 straight here to keep their MSI alive in this case. But I don't know. Sanguine are looking very clean right now.
I think Neo just showed why people have been banning
right.
Bomb King for 2 years.
Yeah.
A very long time to be banning Bomb King. And also, one other thing is, I think Flashpoint, I think that shows that I don't know how much they prepped for
Sure.
a PC competition coming
Sure.
up, right? Because if you're thinking we want to play our meta, but we know we're playing against PC, I don't think you pick Victor that early, because if you've seen PC games, you know it's not
Right.
going to be going that early. If you want Victor, it's a sure thing you can take it later. Maybe you can deny something from them. A last pick Eevee to me says, like, they're kind of almost disrespecting their Eevee.
It's an interesting point you bring up, because we did see Eevee come through. I think there are 3 members on the side of Flashpoint are playing on mouse and keyboard. What were your thoughts seeing the Eevee on a console team, traditionally a console team? I mean, it didn't make waves as we sometimes see Eevee, but was it just kind of a big miss in your eyes?
It's a solid map for her, but I think they played it into counters, and I think having not played a ton of Eevee in scrims and stuff like that
Right.
kind of will let you walk into those counters
Sure.
a little bit more. Luminary, Cassie, Bomb King, it is a skill matchup, but you don't want to play against that as an Eevee.
Right.
It's the impulse burst with the Luminary, just BK in general doing 1,000 damage a sticky. That hurts, and that really sticks.
That's important to look at as well. You get Cassie, Bomb King for Edgem and Neo on the side of Sanguine. You know, you put Prosper Logic on Victor, and he's going to be comfortable with that. Absolutely a good point tank draft with Barrack and Inara as well. At the end of the day, you give Neo one of his most comfortable champions. You give Edgem one of his most comfortable champions. You can take the game over.
It was comfortable champs all across the board. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember Jalen used to want
True.
to play off tank
Absolutely true.
when Nando was in that role, so I know he likes Nando. Flame FX, the chaperone of the team. I believe he is older than the rest of them. Kind of looks like the dad,
You're right,
guiding
he
them
does,
through,
doesn't he?
playing Khan. He's been playing off tank for a while, so he chaperones
right.
them to a win as well. Do that.
And
Very
that's
comfortable draft.
and again, I mean, this is Sanguine just playing at the top of their game. I mean, make no mistake, this is a team, and I think Evan pointed it out, and it's a really good point. It's got to be frustrating. I mean, you come from a league where you not only do not lose a single game, but you lose 2 maps. And now you're kind of faced with, for the first time in a long time, all right, we're here on LAN. I'm sure they scrimmed plenty of these teams and had these moments in scrims, but what do we need to change right now to find these wins? I mean, is the answer, I mean, we saw Elevate get very close to taking maps, 2 4-3s. One was with kind of that 5-man deathball composition. Do you go back to that now if you're some of these? If you're
We don't know how
Flashpoint?
much they've practiced it. I mean,
That's true.
I heard legends and tales. The Elder Scrolls were being opened up about the things that Elevate
right.
was going to bring out. It was like whisperings in the back alleys, and I haven't really heard that about Flashpoint.
Right.
Maybe it's just the circles I travel in, but I think they have to, if they want to play their game, like I said before, I think they have to respect the PC meta a little more, and they could be drafting smarter to get the picks they want.
And they'll need to find a way to address what Sanguine have been bringing here in these drafts as we jump into maybe the final set of picks and bans. If Sanguine's able to close this one out, they're moving on. Flashpoint again, they need to fight back. Torvald finds his way back into the ban column here. Not, aside from really the Bomb King, here's the Cassie. I was going to say we haven't seen too much of an emphasis on non-frontliners. Save, and this has sort of become a PPL meta as well, where you ban out 3 of the off tanks, and then there's sort of a 4th like hybrid ban, whether it's Eevee or Cassie or whatever it may be. That hasn't changed too much here in this set with Cassie getting taken away as well. Do you go as far as banning Bomb King in this case? Take away Cassie and Bomb King from Edgem and Neo?
So many of Neo's picks are good on this map.
Right. I mean, you can only ban out one.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, you can't ban out his entire champion pool.
3 bans win.
Yeah.
We might need a couple
That's
more
right.
champs before that happens, but
Right.
I don't know. I think it's so hard to be in their shoes right now. Right now, there's a couple good tanks open. I mean, Mako is still open, Khan is still open,
Right.
Ash is still open. They could ban a DPS, get 2 of the strong off tanks, and maybe play double aggressive. Say, hey, we really couldn't set the pace with our more pokey composition, so let's just walk into them and.
I'm a
Bomb King.
genius. Just kidding. People could have probably seen that coming from a mile away.
From
It's-
2017.
That's right. Yeah, right. It's
season
a
of
common
revolution
thread that we see, especially with Neo getting the Bomb King banned out against him in this case. Makoa. I mean, he's going to be able to come out to play. Khan as well on the side of Flashpoint.
Our only path
At least off the start, no big differences. You can't read too much into 2 picks on the side of Flashpoint. Khan Genos, though, I mean, that's a strong start for them. But Makoa, I keep saying it, if you're going to let Makoa through, you need to have an answer to it. especially on Brightmarsh. He's so good at controlling some of these close spaces, and you get him, you know, on a comfort pick on the side of Sanguine as well, who are playing so well. I mean, it could be dangerous to let that turtle go through.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I kind of would have rathered them pick Ashe here instead of the Generals. Actually, Sanguine, don't go. I thought they were going to go maybe Makoa Ashe and just really set the pace. But the Inara Damba, I mean, it was really, really strong for them on the first map, on Stone Keep, so I don't see why they would want to change it. They have a very sustaining composition, though they are a little weaker to the sky now, if that were to come out.
Sure. And that's an answer a lot of teams have had. They see a Makoa come through, and they say, all right, I'll pick a Sky. To mixed results. We've seen some good Sky, some bad Sky today. Ninu specifically on the side of Sour Team blew me away, honestly, with that Frozen Guard game. He was just tearing through the lineup of Elevate on the Sky that time around. They are going to go Barrack with pick number 4 here, leaving that 5th pick open to a little bit of flexibility. Drogos hovered for Sanguine here. Good on Brightmarsh, just good champion in general. Neo very comfortable on the Drogo. You mentioned, yeah, you ban out the Bomb King. You can't, unfortunately, also ban out the Pip. You can't ban out the Eevee or the Drogos. Right. So we talked about comfort. It's not like he's uncomfortable on the Drogos by any means.
Oh, absolutely not. And Drogos is a champion on this map that can play multiple things. Unfortunately, though, Drogos is not being picked here.
Pip instead?
Yeah, Pip instead. Still really solid. I mean, they're looking to focus point.
They are your last.
Sure.
Really hard. This is such a dominant point fight comp. If a Barrack with a Genos pocket tries to fight an Inara with the Damba pocket that is also getting spammed up by a Tyra walking through a firebomb, like this is such a dominant point composition for Sanguine. I think they're just hoping to out DM on the side. Drogos can be very strong. This is going to be a lot of pressure on Edge, I think, on Tyra to pressure back the Drogos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't let
That's
him
the
get
answer.
over. Maybe they want Combustible to counter the point pressure. There's a couple things Flashpoint can do here.
Well, he's got 100% win rate so far in the MSI. Small sample size, but 100% win rate nonetheless for Drogos. And they get the Vivian, and the performance from Wonderful on the Vivian in that last game of the Elevate set, that really gave them a chance. The potential for Vivian to take some of these games over. I harken back to Alex on the Vivian playing on Brightmarsh, same map, and he had 38 kills or something absurd like
what team
that.
was that against again?
I don't remember.
I believe it was my team.
You don't remember that, do you? Yes, he does.
It has blacked out of my mind.
He doesn't remember it at all. Sanguine Esports looking for one final win to move on here in the MSI. Flashpoint, they need to counter back. Will it happen? We'll have to send it down to the casters to find out.
Well, we're going to find out with you guys along for the ride. All the viewers at home as well tuning in to the Paladins 2019 Mid-Season Invitational. Welcome as we head into Game 3, which could put another set to rest. Sanguine having the opportunity to close out like their counterparts. Sour Team in the European side of things did earlier to Elevate. The second console team that will be on display here, it's Flashpoint, and we'll see if they can do it here, running a very deadly point composition with the Makoa, the Inara, the Tyra, Damba, and the Pip.
And we'll say Flashpoint, playing opportunity in chaos, something that we've seen, and admittedly for a lot of the times Vivian has run. That's probably the #1 most run talent for. Although lately, the likes of Na'Vi, when they pick up this Vivian, they're playing things like Booby Trap. So I'm wondering if that kind of play style is going to make a big difference. I mean, it's extra damage either way. You're going to be looking at doing a little more. Unfortunately, you're not the ones finding the kills.
And that is going to be a problem to start out this way as well. No kills found. And that means that, oh boy, they're going to feel a little more confident than maybe they should. Prosper Logic finds a kill right in return, and they get rid of the Pit. Flashpoint, 75% and counting. Sanguine playing a little bit of a slow game. Maybe that first early kill gave them a little too much hubris here, as they got to step onto the point fast.
Moved in maybe a little too hard, and you could see why Kresnik calls Pip a walking head. Same thing goes for Barrack. It's just very easy to find the headshots on him there. So they get that into a 4v5, but I mean, 87%. Like, point control from Flashpoint has been on point. Very similar to what we saw at Elevate last set. They were able to hold on to the point for a long time. They weren't able to close it out every single time, and I think that's going to be the issue that we're going to see from Flashpoint here. Is just how well can you take this back now that Sanguine has control?
And honestly, Sanguine not giving it up too easily. Prosper Logic finds Edgem. This could be a big snowball. We talked about what happens if the Vivian or the Sky makes it out. Sanguine not even going to give a chance. They have all backed away. Legacy unable to really clean up kills as quickly as he would have liked. And Niju, although dying early, also gets 2 kills to really turn the tide of the fight for Sanguine. They're off to the races. And now they begin their push with 2 minutes and 12 on the clock. Jalen Sanity just firing some of the pellets from the Stone Spear on the Inara.
Good shots, good everything. Like, Flashpoint haven't been playing poorly. I think that's the biggest thing to kind of know. Like, everything I've had, it's not been, oh, they made a mistake or anything like that. It's just Sanguine have been outplaying them. Sanguine have been playing 2-3 steps ahead. I mean, even here, Skeppy wasn't in the position, like tries to channel that Dragon Punch, tries to find a kill potentially onto the Inara. Sanguine are just like, cool, we're just going to back off now. Like, have fun, you can fly around, do whatever you want, but like you have to come fight in a very uncomfortable position, trade 1 for 1,
I mean,
or you're not getting a kill.
It's almost like guaranteed death, right? Especially if you have Makoa in there. Inara's the primary target. Flame Effect sets up for a hook right after you're vulnerable yet again out of that CC immunity. The little stall post-Dragon Punch is just a death sentence with this much damage on the board. The Pip, the Tyra, another hook as well. That's finishing off Prosper. Now they have a little bit of license to move, and they're going to press. Jalen Sanity moving faster and faster towards the front line, throws down the Warder's Field as well. He sees a barricade and instantly doesn't, and now he sees a chicken and instantly doesn't again. Edgem finds a big kill. Wow. Linsanity finds another. Storm Avatar floats into his death, trying to stall the payload push, but it's not happening.
I mean, there's going to be a walling Flame against the barricade. I think trying to give him a little bit of an elevator.
He tried,
but,
yeah.
Did not quite have the reach for it. Needed to take about 2 steps forward. Either way, you still got Makoa waiting for you to come on out and then plucking you right down.
I mean, the best version is that even though he can't get up, he just brings Legacy down. Nice kill there on Skeppy, finding Flame Effects, and they will not have enough firepower to contest. They'll back off with the 3 of them remaining, losing a big force of their front line in the Makoa. A lot of teams really threatening with letting the Makoa off the ban sheet. And that's just something that's so dangerous, and it really hasn't proven well for any team who's given up the Makoa to the opposition. Proving again why he is such a threatening damage champion in that frontline role. And I say it that way because he really just is a damage champion in the frontline role.
It's the way he plays. This hook is so good. The damage is so good.
Hits
so
as much as Cassie.
It makes people run scared too. Ancient Rage is available. The question is whether or not they want to ult. Overtime's ticking down, but Flashpoint are still the ones kind of fighting at a deficit. You kind of want this to snowball. Like if Flashpoint find a defense, it does not go as heavily, I think, in Sanguine's favor for the rest of the game.
No, this is going to be rough here as well. Overtime ticking away. Big kill. Flame Effects finds 1. Good wall there from Inara. Sanguine here fighting into the pressure from the firebomb, and this is stuff that starts to really work for them as they push. There's just no way they can stand. Skeppy doesn't have the ability to drop down on the Drogos. He gives up everything that's valuable to that champion, and it's another 2-0. Sanguine are looking dominant here.
Pip was jumping around at the end, and the only way I can think to describe it is he's ping-ponging about, like he's just going from side to side of the screen, bouncing back and forth. And it's just, who do you look at? Who do you lock down? Like if you're Vivian, you're trying to shoot the Pip. Well, Drogos might be trying to shoot the Pip as well. Well, somebody needs to focus the front line. Like it just seemed like there was attention scattered all around for Flashpoint there. Kind of something you expect. I mean, honestly, game 3, you're down 2-0. You haven't gotten a single point. You don't know where to look. You're trying to focus this objective. You get a point, and then it still falls through. Like this is where mentality starts to play into the game. This is where how are you feeling starts to affect how are you playing.
Yeah.
And the play already wasn't going very heavily in favor of Flashpoint, so now maybe expect a couple more slip-ups. They need to lock it down tighter than ever.
And, you know, we talk about Vivian and what she brings damage-wise. The sensor drone there, just giving them some vision. That could be helpful. Edgem goes down yet again. So Legacy kind of playing up to his namesake there, known to be such an aggressive, dominating frontline presence, but has just felt like he's been in the shadows in this game with just some incredible minor league players kind of stealing the show here. Skeppy finds some damage on the Dragon. And so that's 11% and counting here for Flashpoint. They've got a zone, and they've got ultimates to do it, but they've got to be used well. Easier said than done here.
I mean, good healing coming down from Storm, being able to set this up. A really good through time and space could seal the deal for their team. Just killing off 2 carries. And that might be it, but it's just off the mark. Sanguine reacted just too quickly.
And that's unfortunate because it's almost a negative now. And Skeppy is exposed.
See ya.
He's going to back off. He says, wow, I'm a little exposed here. He gets a kill, but it's going to cost him his life, it looks like, unless he can skirt around this corner. Edgem doesn't want to let him get away, but he's getting healed up. Storm Avatar doing his best, 977, and Flame is low. Flame is down. This could be Flashpoint making a move. Overpower into the wall. Legacy says, see ya later. Edgem trying to touch that point. But Flashpoint says, nah, son, this is ours. Inara has something to add to the combo, and Baller Steve, nice stun into the gourd. He's going to make it out alive.
Trying to do whatever he can to keep this Inara pumped up, but Jalen's gotten too low, doesn't have his sponge ability up. Ends up kind of losing that down. Tries to keep the damage reduction going with Legacy, playing it appropriately, getting aggressive, making sure Baller Steve, even though he got a good stun, was never in a position to see the Inara, had to gourd himself, couldn't do anything to keep Jalen alive. And so you keep him locked away. And they finally grab their first point of the set.
Much better to get the healer off the table. That way you can go do other things and they don't have healing. But he essentially killed the healing, even though he sacrificed his own utility and damage to do so. Ended up paying dividends. Incredible stuff from Baller Steve, just to stay alive, though, in that moment. But you really look to see, I think, a lot of things hinging on the play of these aggressive off-tanks. That's why we're talking about, at least why I'm talking about Legacy quite often, because he is normally so dominant. He's on a dominant champion in Con. We've got to see a lot from him if Flashpoint want to stand a chance. But even the Sonara has been a little bit more aggressive, and you know, Kresnet talked about why. He's just got so much damage. It's nearly impossible for the Con or the Barrack with just an Astral Mark to really go up against the Nanara getting healed by the Maldamba and the Pip.
I mean, she just, again, hold W key. You just wall her down. What are you going to do against her? She does a lot more damage than people think, and I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of the top players that run the Inara, I'm thinking of like the Lazies. Ovim is one that I would also love to highlight for it. It's just one of those players, one of those champions that will absolutely kill you when you least expect it, because she just won't die, or you neglected to think that those pellets were going to be hitting anywhere near as hard as they do. And you know, at first, maybe one shot doesn't hit that hard.
Yeah.
Then the second shot, you've lost half your health. Then the third shot, you're down 3/4, and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Who's shooting at me? It has to be someone impactful. No, she's just chilling on the point.
As far as impactful aggression, I consider really Bonker one of the best in that role, and Diggy as well, but Bonker usually would be on the Inara in those situations. But as far as hitting all of your shots, Lazy and Tolkien really are some of the standouts for me also. So efficient in the way they just land every shot, even halfway across the map, to really add meaningful damage and pressure into 1v1s. They're not even involved in. Trying to get up top here, a little pressure being applied from Flashpoint. They've got some damage. Can they finish the deed? Niju and Skeppy fighting on the left-hand side. Gord goes down as well from Steve, just to try to keep the front lines alive.
Evil Mojo could be huge coming through, but Sanguine would really love to not have to use that on a defense, but they're going to be able to do it. They have every single ult they need, and they lose Flame off of that hook. He comes in, they're not able to pick up the kill they're looking for right now, but unfortunate reload time's not working well.
Got him. That's it. Niju's down. Can they get Skeppy? Forced to use the Dread Serpent. They need the Gord damage to try to finish him off. It's just the Spit, but the Cobra strikes too late. It's 2-2. Flashpoint tie it up. Now getting a little bit of confidence back for the European-based squad here with a little Skeppy on the side.
That mid-game break was like that. It's the halftime in Space Jam. They went back. They got the pep talk.
Now they need the special.
They drank a bottle of water that was labeled as something different. Now they believe more in themselves than ever.
I'm just waiting for Bugs Bunny to show up. I'd be down. I'd rather cast Space Jam right now. No offense to this game.
I don't think anyone would ever turn that idea down.
I mean, Bugs, Bill Murray, come on. Prosper, forgive me. But.
Speaking of Prosper, wow. 141, like, double. Literally double anybody else behind him. Over double, just by a few thousand, but...
Wow.
I mean, he's blowing them out of the park. He's doing the damage. He's putting in the work. Just needs a little more help from the rest of his team to carry.
You are 100% right, Gord. That is actually some of the most staggering discrepancy we've ever seen in damage. PCL, PPL, PML included. That is insane after 11 minutes. 140,000 damage when the next highest is 68. But who cares? You do no damage while you're dead. Niju with a triple kill here. And oh boy, Flame Effects getting in on the party. Sanguine wipe out Flashpoint just as they thought they had it.
And I mean, just being able to loop around like that, that's the biggest thing Flashpoint are lacking. They need Drogos to be the one who loops around like that. And they don't have a flank. They don't have anyone truly to help lock down, say, Tyra, and keep her out of there, to keep her from marking people. Pip, he has no trouble getting into your backline and, well, erasing 1, 2, 3.
Yep, and this is the conversation that needs to be had as well with some of these teams. And I look at it in the PML, I look at it in the PPL, and the Console League. The minor league teams have come into these matchups more confident than the Console League teams. Whether you want to say it's true or not, I believe the minor league teams truly believe this should be an easier matchup for them, and the Console Leagues truly believe this should be a little harder. What we're seeing is not really the case. Both teams going back at it. It's a matter of a few points that are deciding these games, as we saw in the first set. But zones like that, so confident, there may be false confidence behind them, but they're really effective. Flashpoint couldn't get a touchback, and you look at sometimes not being able to zone as the reason you don't secure wins. There, Sanguine take that confidence, they put it into full effect, and they guarantee themselves a chance to win.
But right now, Flashpoint are the ones that are really finding everything they need. At least picking up some kills here or there. They pull some ults away from Sanguine as well. But again, the big ones I'm looking at, Ancient Rage, still available. Didn't get popped. A minute and a half to be able to use that. It's plenty of time to try and close something out. Same thing can go for the Evil Mojo that's going to charge up soon. The same thing can go for the Seismic Crash that's going to come up soon. Like, Sanguine just need to bide some time, and they have plenty to work with. Flashpoint have to keep themselves playing at 110% for not only the rest of this map, but if they can win this one, if they can at least get this defense, they have to do another point. Then they have to win more.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's so much for the road for Flashpoint that at this point, you start to think that, man, can we make it? Can we make that entire road? You cannot look at it that way. You have to say, can we just stop this point? The chickens, they come out flying, but no kills from them just yet. There's the Ancient Rage as well. Good damage being done, but they only get 2 for their trouble. Those are huge ultimates, and 46 seconds left, but they've got a full wipe. This could be it. Sanguine looking to punch. They're taking it into the next round. Overpower will miss. He's got a touch. I don't think he can. Sanguine gonna grab it 3-0. They'll take the game. They'll take the set. And they'll act like nothing happened.
A lot more fight back that last map from Flashpoint, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. There were just too many moments where you could see Sanguine kind of, again, playing 2, 3 steps ahead. They were prepared for anything you could throw at them, and because of that, they were just like, okay, cool. There's a Dragon Punch. I'll step over here. You kill him. I come in, and then they were playing 4D chess, and unfortunately Flashpoint was playing
chess.
checkers.
Yeah, they were playing auto chess, and you know, Flashpoint is trying to figure it out and move their pieces by themselves, like taking too long. And unfortunately, Sanguine, they get the job done for Flashpoint again. I see a console team really shocked in the situation. They're not used to going out this early.
Yeah.
But the MSI, it's causing a lot of heartbreak. Will continue to do so as we head into the second part of the day. But let's send it back to the desk to get their thoughts on the game.
It's open to all, and it's been open to back-to-back 3-0s up to this point. Sanguine take the win here. They move on. They'll be facing Sour Team tomorrow in the next round, so hats off to them. Just a convincing performance top to bottom. Drafts were good. Individual performances were good. Yeah. Sanguine just playing great today.
Yeah, I think absolutely. They just completely looked very strong. I mean, Flashpoint, I think, saved their honor a little bit.
Yeah.
They got the 2 rounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't the 12-0, but still, Sanguine looking really, really solid. Even with the performance by Prosper, I mean, that outrageous damage differential, like, it was because he was farming a Makoa and an Inara that were being Damba-pocketed. I mean, it just, even with those numbers, I don't think that definitely wasn't the story of this match. It was definitely Sanguine's togetherness and
well, it's like you can farm 140,000 damage onto a Makoa and an Inara, then Neo's on Pip, triple kills, double kills, whatever it may be. Time and time again, you saw so much of the focus from Flashpoint was on their frontliners getting, and it should be. Makoa is a force that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
But then when you also have the playmaking ability of a Pip hitting a triple Evil Mojo, wiping the entire rest of the team, you can only focus on so many things. And I think Sanguine were just playing too well today.
Yeah, absolutely. Even that amazing Seismic Crash, I think, at the end for the cleanup. Like, everything, they were just firing on all cylinders, I think, throughout this set. And hopefully for them, that can carry into tomorrow, as now they are guaranteed to be facing Sour Team. Yeah,
that's going to be a fun matchup. I'm really excited to see how that one plays out, because these are teams that throughout the rest of the split wouldn't have played each other. You wouldn't see a Sour Team Sanguine matchup throughout the rest of the split, so getting to see that tomorrow will certainly be exciting. Here are your stats for your final game in this one, or it might have been from a previous game.
This is Splitstone,
Corey. But I think, as you said, Prosper Logic had 150,000 damage. Mm-hmm. I mean, is that what you aim to do in that situation? You have a Vivian you're going against, so that's good damage.
A Luminary boosted Vivian against Makoa and Nara, I mean, you should be doing damage. It's the confirms that need to come in, and it's the confirms that only came in the point fight they won, really.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, they just weren't able to keep the conversions up. I think the Drogos, it's really hard to, absolutely guarantee that, because when they start getting low from the Vivian, they'll hide. If they know the Drogos is chasing, they can be looking out for it.
Right.
In these tanks, they were just really fantastic at staying alive. Jalen, a long-term player here, really solid rotation. Yeah. I didn't realize this was the reverse zone.
Right.
But you can see this aggression. They know they have this advantage. They want to push with it. They took down the off tank for the team. They know there's going to be nothing pushing on the off side. Jalen just absolutely farming here in these clips. Although they did end up losing this mid fight, but see, solid, really, really good ult usage, I think, from them throughout. You saw the great Seismic Crash in the final mid fight. Evil Mojo was good. Even the Fear on the defense, if they had been able to keep their tank up, I think would have been really, really solid.
Right.
Just again, Sanguine looking fantastic.
Yeah, top to bottom. Ultimates were good. Shots were good. Mm-hmm. Sanguine They're good. They're good at Paladins. They win 3-0. Drop a couple points here and on Bright Marsh to Flashpoint. A little bit of a fight back from the European console team. But at the end of the day, Sanguine, they find the win. And it was just very convincing. I mean, it's hard to kind of identify one individual thing to sort of key in on because it just seemed like Sanguine had their drafts figured out. They knew what they wanted to play. And even under the immense pressure, in that last game as an example, you have Prosper, who's doing 150,000 damage. You know, that's the buzzword, the stat we keep throwing out. Yeah. But the fact, and you pointed this out, the fact that the frontliners for Sanguine were able to weather that storm, stay alive, and then do damage, I mean, that's a great performance. I mean, you would allow them. You would say, all right, yeah, fine. He's doing too much damage to you. You can crumble under that pressure. But they held out. They got the win. And Sanguine, as a result, they're sitting by in the interview chairs, the big winners chairs on the opposite side. Let's send it to them and hear how they're feeling.
All right, we've got the winners here, Sanguine of that matchup. It was 3-0, boys. How did you feel about it going off? I'll ask both of you here, Edgem, and then you could say your mind as well, especially also how to exactly pronounce your name, because I know you're flip-flopping, but I need you to make a decision, so wait till after he says it. So, Edgem, how did you feel about that matchup, man?
I mean, obviously, as like the 4-0, 4-0, 4-2, we were pretty dominant, and that's exactly what I expected. Last map, the draft was a bit off. Like, I think you could see us hovering Drogos. We were considering it, and I think we definitely should have because the Drogos did do a lot of work, but we came in with the W regardless, so felt good. Yeah.
We were confident going in. I was open to them showing us something, but they chose not to, I guess.
And the name?
Neo.
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 We've got it. Me and Dave got it on that. So I guess I do want to walk through. I mean, obviously the first two maps, it's 4-0s. Like, I mean, everything, it felt clinical at that point. Like, you just knew where you needed to go, where you needed to be. Edgem, I don't think ever missed a shot intentionally. Like, every single one that came through was like connecting. Double kills, triple kills, set through all of it. And then we get to Bright Marsh, and ends up being a 4-2. So what was it that gave Flashpoint that second point? What kind of helped them get that point and push?
I think it was the critical play when I went short instead of wide, because when you exit apps, you have one to the left and one to the right. I was starting off to the right to demount them when they were like starting back of their mid, but then I did not like calm to Steve, which is my fault, that like I needed LOS or he needed LOS of me. So I got burned by Vivian and Khan, I think, and then it was an insta pick, and because of comeback mechanic, they just came back and then 5v4, they just won.
So, Neo, you have been the one to play a lot of the blasters for this team, and you've also been a lot of the, real, I think, keystone for whether you guys perform at the highest level that you can. And there's something about blasters that almost kind of turn the tide. If you're having a great BK game, great Drogos game, opens something up for everybody. How do you feel now moving into the rest of MSI, knowing you've got to play tomorrow? How do you guys feel about how you'll do, and what do you expect for the rest of this tournament?
We're just going to perform better and better each day, furthering ourselves, and hopefully not slipping up.
Do you think you can win this entire thing? Is that the level of confidence, belief you guys put in?
I believe it's possible. It just depends how everything goes.
Awesome. Well, I'm not getting told that we're ready for break yet, but if you guys have any final thoughts, go ahead and let us know.
Well, I think for the Sour matchup, like I have my eyes on Perdo because back last LAN, I saw him and then I thought he was a really good player, kind of like me. But then I always think I'm better, so I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting to prove that. I know he's ex-PPL too, so just another person to cross off the list.
Something to prove. Something to prove. That'll make the next few days interesting for sure. Let's send it to a break and get ready for the rest of our MSI. Thanks, fellas.
Yeah.
Paladins Premier League, brought to you by Evil Mojo, High Studios, INAP, Respawn, Steel Series, Alienware, and Skillshot.